Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Actors Area. I'm your host, Sean Robert Grant, aka Reverend Sean Robert Grant. Happy to have you with me here. Hope all is well in your careers. You're finding your way successfully, and even if you're not booking as much, maybe you're out there learning and understanding the industry better through the life experience that you're having. With that being said, guys, let's dive into today's message. But before we get into that, let's take care of some business here real quick. First and foremost, thank you guys for all the support. We've been at this for a long time, and to be able to see everyone from around the world listen in, download, share these podcast episodes is just phenomenal. So I want to thank you guys in advance for that, and just show you how grateful and appreciative I am that you have thought enough to just make this podcast as successful as it is. So cheers to you. Thank you in advance. If you have any questions, as always, I'm available. Write to shaung04@gmail.com. We'll get back to you as soon as we can. Let's get into today's message. Loving yourself unconditionally as an actor and performer, or an actress and performer, or whatever you are in this industry. So this came into my career at a perfect time. Okay. And I can remember when I first got started as an actor and performer, because I like putting those together because they're both one and the same. I didn't have the greatest amount of confidence in myself because I didn't grow up with the greatest amount of confidence. And I doubted myself countless times, more than I should have, throughout the course of whatever it is that I was doing. And it not just reflected, but it tampered with my ability to succeed. And it probably hindered my ability to succeed greater than I could ever imagine. But that is my soul lesson, and I love it unconditionally, and I'm grateful for it. And it's taught me a lot, and it's helping me to share the wisdom with you today that I didn't have access to then. Okay. So I was pretty green getting into this, and I was just under this impression. I remember when I first got started, I was taking so many different acting classes and auditing different classes. I was trying to get the best looking headshots, like I would actually look different in taking, new headshots and stuff like that. And I was doing all these things from the outside, right? That actors normally do. And then look, don't get me wrong. These things are super helpful and they can definitely get you in the door. But then I discovered something. So powerful. And I'll be honest with you, I don't even know how I discovered it, other than the fact that I just got sick and tired of one day people telling me what I couldn't do as an actor, and what had never been done and wouldn't be done. I think I just got so sick of that. It helped me to tap a reservoir of unconditional self-love within myself as an actor and a performer. And I got so fed up with all the naysayers, with all the doubters, that I discovered this place of love within myself. And you know what I would do? I would go park my car by the Lake Pontchartrain, if you're familiar with that, in New Orleans. And I would just recite how much I love myself, how wonderful, how confident, but more importantly, I just love myself unconditionally as an actor. I love what I brought to the table. I love how I looked. I loved everything about myself. There was nothing that was going to keep me from unconditionally loving myself. Now, this is a spiritual podcast as much as it is an actor's podcast. And the idea behind this concept is telling us that we're not just dealing with physical, material matter when it comes to our career. There are spiritual, mental, and emotional elements that vibrate at a higher resonance of vibration, speed of vibration, and also are set on a higher frequency. The only way we can use these things is when we discover them and we provoke them and bring them into our lives to allow them to work, right? So when I did this, all of a sudden, my career began to take a shift. And the interesting thing is, it started with a pro bono movie, right? And this movie was, I think it was a student film, actually. It was as low budget as you can get, but it mirrored everything that I was saying about myself, that self-love that I had within, that I was developing, that was still fragmented in a lot of ways, but it was developing. And it just goes to show you how powerful love can be, self-love can be, when you start to implement it and provoke it, as I stated a few seconds ago. And it just shifted my career. So I get this movie, and everything about this movie aligned with everything that I was saying about myself from an unconditional self-loving standpoint. And I said, you know what? I'm going to stick with this. I'm going to continue to unconditionally love myself. I'm going to just say, I love you. I love this. I accept this. Right? Anyone and everyone can say exactly what they want, but I knew at that point, not directly, but somewhere in my soul, I knew that regardless of all the unloving stuff that was happening outside of me, I had to be unconditionally loving within myself. Now, this is one of the most difficult things to do, is loving yourself while the world is saying differently and attempting to succeed on that level while all that noise is coming at you. It's a challenging place to be in, but it's not impossible to transcend when love is at the forefront. And that is what carried me to new heights, in a sense of doing things that most people wouldn't begin to think of doing in the place that I was doing them. Right? And I contribute this so much to the measure of self-love that I discovered within myself, because I'm going to tell you why. Once again, this is a spiritual podcast. So in spirituality, we know that life just reflects the very essence and energy and consciousness of who we are, right? Life is basically, the material world is basically a mirror, right? It's a mirror that is showing us exactly who we are, exactly how our soul condition is in the most recent period of time, sometimes even further back, but a lot of times it's showing us exactly what we're resonating with, what vibration we are on, what frequency we're able to function on. And keep in mind, frequency is just how you think, how you perceive things. Okay? But all of that is reflected in our everyday life, career included. And so what I began to understand was self-love, the result of my self-love, my unconditional self-love, was being reflected back to me, I would say 90-something% of the time. It was mind-blowing, because up until that point, before I got into the aspect of loving myself unconditionally, it was always like, how can this couldn't happen. This is impossible. I don't ever see this unfolding or happening in a way that would benefit me under any circumstance. I don't see it. Right? But that's because I was completely out of alignment with love. So the roles that I wanted, the roles that I somewhat envisioned myself participating in weren't coming because me being out of alignment with loving myself instantly made me unworthy of having the opportunity to do those things that I wanted to do. And it was just a massive like hello in my face when I finally realized what was actually going on and what was happening, in a sense of my reality being dictated by what's going on inside of me. I'll never forget, I was doing a prominent motion picture movie, and it was a really difficult circumstance to deal with. And when I look back on it, I realized that I just wasn't loving myself at all at this point in time of my career. And it showed, because when you don't love yourself, the opposite is what you receive from the rest of the world. But when you do, and you get to that place where you can just love everything and love yourself unconditionally, next thing you know, your career just kind of takes off. Your life kind of takes off. Everything begins to reflect that love. And one of the most important aspects I find to this day about cultivating this state of being is that the only way you're afraid is if there's fear. And there can't be fear when you've spent time cultivating the garden of unconditional self-love. There just can't be. So you can't even, you're not even resonating at the same frequency as fear. You're not perceiving life as something to be fearful of, right? You're not perceiving your career as this thing that's just never going to go anywhere. And it's just like, how are these people going to notice me? No, love allows you to jump to, damn it, I'm good. And I love myself. I love my talent. I love the gifts that I have. I love what I exude. I love it unconditionally. I'm just so excited of what I've already done and what I've been blessed to do. And I love it unconditionally right where I am. You see the difference between those two paradigms, those two frequencies, right? One basically shuts the door in your face. The other one opens every single door and allows you to just be ready to walk through them when your name is called. This is what makes the difference, right? So I spent almost 9 years in Los Angeles, and one of the biggest things I noticed was the amount of money people spent, myself included, to go to acting class. Now, I will not stand here and say you don't need to act, because the fact of the matter is you do, because if you don't, you get rusty. It's a muscle. You got to work it, right? But I notice there's a theme spent taking time to evolve and to hone everything on the outside in the physical reality, and not enough time focusing on the internal essence of the individual. And that's what made me create the concepts I did, because I knew it's important. If you're going to succeed, you got to succeed spiritually first, and mentally and emotionally. It's got to be there, or else it just won't happen. You'll just keep hitting walls, right? But I noticed that was the theme. It was always get into class, go to as many auditions as you can. And I did this, and it's frustrating as hell, because you can go years without feeling like nothing is happening, and it's because you hadn't shifted or transformed from within. That's the only time things shift, is when we transform from within. So I'm going to tell you right now, I don't care where you are. Shift as an actor and performer to one who loves themselves unconditionally. And I don't care if you've never booked anything. I don't care if you hadn't booked anything in years. I don't care if you only have one credit. I don't care if you've been in it for 10 years and you got 0 credits. Today is going to be the day where you shift and you love yourself unconditionally as an actor performer, and you state out whatever intention you need to love yourself. And it could simply be, I love you unconditionally, Sean Robert Grant, as an actor performer. I love you unconditionally for what you've done, for who you are as an actor and performer. You could not book another thing at all ever, and I would love you unconditionally and appreciate all that you've done in this industry. And of course, I use my name. You can use your name in the process, but just do that. And even me saying that creates a shift for me internally. All of a sudden, I don't feel bad because one year I booked 35 jobs and then the next year I booked 3. I don't feel bad about it because why? I'm loving myself unconditionally. And that has to resonate to the rest of the universe, to your material reality. It has to. By universal law, it has to. And like we said in the beginning, this then, amazingly enough, is reflected in every single person you meet, whether they're a casting director, a producer, a director, a production assistant, transportation, makeup, hair, right? Studio head. That self-love is going to reflect. I'm going to say something because, the gift of spiritual knowledge, wisdom, and understanding is enlightening and illuminating people to the truth. You hear all these stories about Hollywood this, Hollywood that. These people do this during Hollywood. Here's the thing. When you understand your life is only reflecting you, your energy is only reflecting who you are, you no longer become afraid to be caught up in that because you know you're not even vibrating on that resonance. You're not even on that frequency of things to happen like that to you. So there's no reason to be afraid. There's no reason to get upset. There's no reason to feel, you know what they say about Hollywood? Yes. Super successful people are in Hollywood. Right? Watch people go there every single year to live out their dreams. And you know what? I love myself unconditionally to where I know I can do the exact same, or I can do it right where I am. I don't even need to be in Hollywood. But because I love myself unconditionally, you know what? I know good things are going to happen for me as an actor, as a performer. There's no doubt in my mind. There's no doubt in my heart. I love myself. I love myself. I love myself unconditionally. I accept myself. I accept myself. I accept myself unconditionally. I approve of myself unconditionally as an actor, as a performer, as a person, as a soul, as a spiritual being having a human experience. Amen to that. Because at that point, nothing can stop us and nothing wants to stop us. You could even encounter the biggest jerk. And because you are rooted in self-love, guess what? Self-love has to resonate back. It has nothing to do with the physical stuff, right? So I'm going to say this. We're getting ready to wrap it up here in just a bit. Do what you need to do to take care of yourself as a performer with these things from the outside. Yes, get your headshots, right? Yes, hone your craft, all that good stuff. Network, whatever it is. But don't let that be the lead, right? In the motion picture of your career. Do not let that be the lead. Let you loving yourself unconditionally Be the lead. And I'm going to tell you, with unconditional love, self-love, you got to go deep, because the surface stuff just doesn't work. We all have picked up so much trauma as children that we have to go deep with this, to the point where I can remember when I was doing it, and it made me so sick because of all the unloving stuff that had to come up out of me when I decided to start loving myself unconditionally. But I'm gonna tell you, it was painful as hell, but it was worth it. It was worth it in every single sense of the word. Every fiber of my being, it was worth it. And it started with that love. It started there. And it transformed and also transcended all these limitations. And that is something that I will never forget, and that I will always attribute to the idea of me loving myself unconditionally first. And it don't matter what the hell's going on the outside. Do not let physical matter stop you from loving yourself unconditionally to get to your dream. It does not matter, guys. All that matters is what's within. Doesn't matter where you are. Some people may say, well, I got to get to LA, I got to get to New York, got to get to Chicago. You may be in Nebraska. Love yourself unconditionally. All of a sudden, what happened? Boom. You're involved in a play or some type of TV show that decides to just film in Nebraska. And things just start happening. Why? Because love is resonating in the deepest level of your being and your consciousness. And it's amazing watching that happen, because it happens all the time. But you got to love yourself unconditionally. You got to start there. You know, I'll say this and I'll wrap it up. I've been in this game for 17 years. It'll be 17 years in December. And the one thing that I would have changed differently is I would have gotten to do stuff like this early on, as opposed to waiting and trying to figure it out. But I know I love and accept the fact that it took as long as it did, because now it's helping me to help you. But I want you to know, and I want you to be aware of, and I want you to understand with every fiber of your being, every bit of your soul, you can get, right? You can get whatever it is that you desire. You can get whatever it is that you choose to have. And the fact of the matter is, sometimes it's not even what you think it is, other than the idea of loving yourself unconditionally. You see, we go after all this shit on the outside, thinking that it's going to fulfill us, when actuality, the only thing that can fulfill us is us loving ourselves completely. And then it's from there all these amazing things begin to happen. So if it comes down to it, and you got to make a choice, and you got to choose something, got to choose an acting class, you got to choose an audition, you got to choose to love yourself, spend time loving yourself unconditionally. Because the auditions are always going to be there. The acting classes are always going to be there. The productions are always going to be there, because they're producing them at just an alarming rate. That's always going to be there. You got to love yourself now, so that it not only benefits your career, but it benefits your life. With that being said, ladies and gents, I am signing off. Thank you so much in advance. I always say in advance, but thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you listening in. As always, if this message benefits you, and you think it would benefit someone else, please, by all means, share it with them. Give them the link to download. We're on multiple platforms, and just keep rocking it out. Keep going forward. As long as your heart is in this, keep going, and I will continue to bring you unorthodox knowledge, wisdom, and understanding that will help you to further your career and help you to be the success that you are, because internally you already are a success. You have it within you. The awareness is there. You just got to access with it. And that access starts with love, starts with unconditional self-love. Thank you so much, guys. Have a wonderful day, evening, night, wherever you are. We will talk to you soon. Take care.